Okay.
Hello, everyone. Good to be back. We have another young Indian with us, part of the Voice of the Young series. Right now, we have with us Mahima Mathur. Let's listen to her. Over to you, Mahima.
Hello, a very good evening to you, sir, from India. And it gives me extreme pleasure to be here on your show, which is called Vidped. And I actually had a lovely evening today, listening to several such young scholars like me and viewing their videos on YouTube. And it was a great experience to see people from all walks of life and people from all sorts of backgrounds. But somehow, it's all tying up together because they have similar aspirations. They're all trying to achieve something meaningful and have a significant place in society in whichever endeavor they pursue. So it was really heartening to see that, and I extend my heartfelt appreciation and gratitude to you for featuring me on your wonderful show. And as you said, I am Mahima Mathur. I'm currently pursuing my post graduation from Jindal School of International Affairs, and I'm specializing in my master's degree, which is called MA in Diplomacy, Law, and Business. And I will currently be beginning with my second year of my MA degree. And previously, I hold an honors degree in history from St. Stephen's College, University of Delhi. And I think I would like to start by sort of outlining my life trajectory, if I may say so. I still am currently young, but I mean, of course, like where I am right now, I think it's the accumulation of all the experiences which I've had since I was a child, and that sort of brings me to where I am today, right now. So I come from Kanpur, a significantly large city in Uttar Pradesh in northern India, and I've been born and raised here. And at the age of 10, though, my parents they decided to send me to a boarding school in Nainital to probably because they were really invested in my education and they just wanted me to have the best possible. Though Kanpur is a fairly large city and it's got good schools on its own, but they sent me off to boarding school in Nainital, and I went to St. Mary's Convent when I was 10, and I studied there for 6 long years. And I think that those were the pivotal years, I feel, shall I say, those were the formative years of my life, because 6 long years at a boarding school really shapes your life experiences and your outlook. And I think one thing which I've learned from there is that I've become a very energy efficient person, and I think that comes from my boarding school days. And I constantly pester and nag my parents to not waste electricity, because I think it just comes from all the wax which I probably got from the nuns back at my school. And also, I think one thing which is that maybe not to consume a lot, and just conservation of resources, making the most out of the things which you have. And I still get a little taken aback when there are just too many options and just too much to consume. So maybe this is something which I think I've picked up from my boarding school days. So I was there for 6 long years in Nainital, which is a fairly bustling hill station, and it sees scores of tourists every year come summer season. And it definitely, the environment there, I think I would say that it was fairly a strict school, with discipline being one of the foremost values which they would try to instill in students. And I think discipline goes a long way towards your overall development. And it was definitely a mixed experience, because as I said, it was a strict school. So somewhere maybe perhaps I did feel a little bit stifled there sometimes, because sometimes it would get to you, the environment and all. But I think that it has really shaped me, and overall my experience was quite positive there. And so my father has instilled within me this the habit of reading since a very young age. So I think that habit actually blossomed there, because there was nothing else to do there besides to read. because we were completely cut off from social media or from any devices. So I think I spent a lot of time there reading, and I think I haven't read so much since then, because you were sort of confined in an environment where your sources of recreation was actually quite limited. You could go for long walks, you could maybe chat with your friends, but then when it came to spending some time, I found that reading was a pursuit which I really enjoyed, and I think I read a lot there. And it's I think it reading really helped me, because it helped me to articulate my thoughts and ideas better. It exposed me to different authors, their writing styles, and it for some time it also it still it still is a dream of mine to maybe become a published author myself and to write too. And but of course, this is this is something which I'm still working on. Probably I hope that in the years to come I do see myself as a published author on a subject. So then, of course, I mean, reading was something which I fully cultivated there, and then I was there till the 10th grade. I was there from the 5th to the 10th grade, and then because I was an avid reader, I wanted to pursue humanities right after my 10th grade, and this decision was taken very well by my parents. I mean, I've had friends and peers whose parents were not very receptive to the idea of them pursuing humanities, because it is generally perceived that it sort of curtails employment opportunities or career options, and a conventional career choices like maybe engineering or medicine is preferable. But my parents were very receptive to this, and they said that whatever you are interested in should be your career choice. And because my school at Nainital did not offer humanities after 10th, I moved back to Kanpur, my hometown, and I studied at Sheeling House School, one of the eminent schools in the city. And I pursued my 11th and 12th grade, and I had humanities. And I mean, for my I mean my recollection of these 2 years at Sheeling House was just being involved in academic life, because it was very awkward. It was very uncomfortable for me to shift to a new school after 6 years in a boarding school, and it was a very different cultural environment for me. And I was also in a girls' school there, and suddenly I was in a co-ed school. So what I did was that I just immersed in myself in studying. I read more there, and I wanted to be at the top of my class. And I was a very diligent student back then. I would submit my assignments, take active interest in classes, and I still am in touch with a few of my teachers there. And so yes, I think that's how my 2 years there, when I practically had a non-existent social life. I think I was just confined to my room. I used to go to school, come back, and but it paid off, because I did very well in my class 12 board examinations. I was the district topper in humanities, and I did quite well, and that gave me a ticket to St. Stephen's with my board marks in 2016, and I decided to pursue a degree in history. I was torn between several options. I was interested in a political science degree because of my long tryst with reading and English literature. I also thought I wanted to read a B.Ed honors degree in English. But then I finally decided to pursue history, because I thought that this is a subject which we all need to deal with when we are learning humanities. Because if we do not know our past, then how are we supposed to reflect on our present, and how are we supposed to perhaps give solutions to problems which we are facing, because everything is connected with the past. So I decided to pursue my honors degree in history. And before that, I mean, since I went to an ISC school, so I was and most I when I went to St. Stephen's, I realized that most of my classmates at Stephen's, they came from CBSE backgrounds. And the kind of syllabus which Delhi University follows sort of also anchors that. So again, at St. Stephen's, initially I found myself that I thought that I was quite lost, because it seemed like everyone was well equipped with whatever they were supposed to study, and I was completely lost. And several of my classmates, some well-intentioned ones, they advised me to pick up on the NCRTs and be aware of and be aware of ancient civilizations, starting with Mesopotamia and coming to home the Indus Valley civilization. And I did that because I was actually feeling a little left out. It suddenly, after coming to Saint Stephen, and it was definitely a cultural shock for me because like all these places where I've been, I've studied at Nainital, then I was at Kanpur for some time. I would only meet people who would come from a certain socioeconomic and cultural background. So if I was at Nainital, I would generally meet students from around northern India. And in Kanpur, of course, the entire the students were from the city. But at St. Stephen's, actually, I met people from all over the country, and that was something which was and it's it's another fact about St. Stephen's is that a significant proportion of the students there actually come from the southern states of India. So even to this day, most of my friends from St. Stephen's come from Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and it was a great experience for me to interact with peers from these states. And I really enjoyed eating their home cooked South Indian food, dosas, which their parents would send for me. So it was a cultural shock in the beginning, and I even made friends from the northeast part of the country, and it just felt very nice to interact with so many people and still subscribe to the fact that we all belong to this one great country. So it was very exciting for me. And at Stephens, I met some really brilliant intellectuals, some really brilliant peers. I even interacted with professors, and that really my 3 years there really shaped me in an intellectual sense of tradition, where I was exposed to maybe other streams of thoughts which I wouldn't conventionally subscribe to. And that was very interesting. And at DU, I think, because St. Stephen's obviously is a subset of Delhi University, is a constituent college of Delhi University. So sometimes we would even meet students from we would meet fellow students from other colleges of Delhi University, and we would just compare notes. We would just discuss which college canteen has the better samosa, what are the prices. So that way it was fun to just sometimes we would just hang around, and in our break times we would even attend lectures by eminent scholars, if they would say visit Delhi School of Economics, or if they would visit Hindu College, which was right across the road, or if they would visit Hansraj, we would try to go there. And I remember distinctly that one particular incident which I can think of is that I think the 2015, I do not know if I recall the year correctly. The 2015 topper, UPSC topper Ira Singhal, she gave a lecture at Hindu College. And since she was the all India rank one, so there was a huge ruckus around across the university, that a chance to actually listen to a lecture in person by AIR one was huge. So I remember that we all made a beeline for that particular lecture. Most of my classmates, we went because I think that in Delhi University, the lure of civil services, especially amongst humanities graduates, is a lot, and it still remains to this day. And there was this palpable excitement amongst all of us, and we did attend her lecture. And she, of course, is a brilliant bureaucrat, a very upright officer, and it was a very interesting experience. So I think overall, my experience at Delhi University was, of course, extremely positive. There was also this sense of I think my first exposure to protests, and they formed a huge part of the university's public life, where a group students would regularly would express their dissatisfaction against maybe policies of the university, or even of against the government. So I would read about these events only in newspapers, and now I was actually a spectator. So that way, I think it was just a broadening of perhaps public life for me, which was happening, and I was also a part of it. And another thing which I would want to, which an interesting detail about my life at Delhi University was that there was this group called Pinjra Tod, and it was run by students, which sort of protested against the curfew timings in the university, because there were curfew times for the women students of the university, but no such for men. So this I think this particular group was really popular back then. And though I mean, I personally did not stay at a DU hostel, so I do not have my own views on this, because I was not afflicted with this issue. Because I stayed at a private such hostel. But then the whole in I mean the whole the I think the experience of being in a thriving sort of democracy, you could see that happening in front of you when you were unhappy with college administration, and you could see how a group of students are organizing dissent against this. And that's also very fascinating to watch, because at one level at one level, you are just, it's sort of like a real life MBA, where you're organizing students and you're distributing pamphlets and you're advocating your opinion, you're sort of building a momentum. And while again, I did not personally participate, but it was just things which which captured my attention during my years at university. And though I devoted myself to academic pursuits, I again hogged the St. Stephen's library, and I would spend hours trying to and the St. Stephen's boasts an excellent library. And there are lots of even rare titles there. There are issues of EPW ranging from several years ago, and that was also very fascinating. And so these were my 3 years at university, in which I sufficiently devoted time to pursuing academic pursuits. I even had fun with friends. We hung around, we made trips to Connaught Place in Delhi, all the popular hangout spots. I mean, it was a very interesting. So, someone told me that Nirola's in Connaught Place is actually the first fast food restaurant in India, and that was something which I thought was interesting. And me being a history student, I was especially interested in sort of seeing the cultural part of Delhi, and I went to museums there. I went to historical monuments there with my friends. And it was this, that you would see these grainy pictures of these monuments in your textbooks, and you were actually able to see them. And that was something which was very heartening for me as a student there. Well, I mean, while the thing about Delhi University is that it is a university which is also sufficiently, in a way, I mean, it also gives you that space and time to sort of figure yourself out. And it gives you that leverage, and it gives you that time to figure out who you are as a person, what your interests are, what do you want to pursue later. So I think that sort of freedom I was given in university, because in schools you're obviously, you follow a structured syllabus. Sometimes you're dissuaded from asking questions or asking too many questions. I for one was, when I would ask too many questions, or I would want to discuss more on certain topics or certain niche. But I think that sort of academic freedom DU provides you, in which you are in, even in a subject like history. I mean, if you study history from an academic point of view, you realize that history writing is actually a very long drawn out academic endeavor. And I mean, if you look at eminent historians which study Indian history, and you look at the kind of work which they do before publishing any book, they look at original sources. Say if someone is investigating the Delhi Sultanate, and so you look at original Arabic inscriptions, and you need to be a scholar of the language itself, and you look at original literature to decipher and uncover how the state of the of the region was in that time. So I think that that's what I realized, that even in a subject like history, which is from an academic perspective, the you if before you make a claim about anything, you obviously need to do your research. Like if you perhaps say that the Indus Valley civilization was a matriarchal society, now you've just said a statement, but you need to back it up with, say, inscriptional evidence. And if you in Indus Valley civilization, I mean, that's we're talking about around the third century BC. So you do not have like literature there. Like your only source of recourse is that these writings, which were often found on certain inscriptions, and till date they still haven't been deciphered yet. The script used in the Harappan Valley civilization is still not deciphered. So before saying that, you just need to do a lot of research. But what I'm trying to say is that even with that restrictions, which this discipline has, our professors would give us that environment to brainstorm and to have more academic freedom in the discipline itself. And this is why I think another interest which I have actually cultivated is reading books on popular history. Now, another such eminent author is actually Chitra Divya Karuni Banerjee, because I really enjoy reading her books because they are of the historical genre, and she has popularized epics like even the Ramayana and the Mahabharat. Currently, I'm reading her book titled The Palace of Illusion, and it's sort of Mahabharat but from Draupadi's perspective. So such kind of telling, retelling, or placing certain characters vantage point is very interesting to note and read. And of course, I mean, coming back to my university days, after that, I still I mean I have to confess that even after 3 years I was still as confused as ever about what I want to do, and I did not have any clarity. So I think a host of combinations, a host of factors, they led me to decide that I wanted to pursue civil services. My parents, they were very impressed with my board performance, so they were like, you should also prepare for civils. You've done so well. You have been a bright student throughout, and you've been a scholar, so perhaps you should try giving a shot at the civil services examination. And I must confess that I hadn't put a lot of thought into it. And I thought that, since they are my parents, they must know better. Even at that age, I thought that, okay, when you are not having a sense of clarity, you look up to your parents for some light. So I thought that, everyone's parents, they think the best for their children. So I thought that this probably would be the right direction. And I feel like without doing a lot of preparatory sort of hounding about how one should proceed the examination, or how I just decided to make a deep dive into this journey. And I moved back to Kanpur, and I bought books. I did the usual. I watched YouTube videos of toppers which have made it, and there were several such from my college and even from other colleges of Delhi University. And but it seems like I think I was just so sort of maybe burnt out from studying all this time, that when it was actually time for me to study for civil services, I just couldn't find myself to. And though I did try to do justice to it, and but it seems like it just didn't go in my favor. And that was I think one of the first major failures which I faced until then. And I think that really sort of at least for me that time. Now of course I'm in a much better space, but that really I think that sort of impacts your self confidence. Because if you tell it to people, they of course say that, listen, this is a difficult examination, and it is okay if you did not make it, and the success rate is anyway quite minuscule. But it still seems like a blot to your psyche, and it really impacts you. And so I did I actually spent a considerable period of time preparing for the exam. And at one point, I was even close. But it's just that my lack of aptitude in math really tanked me, because one of those papers, it is a compulsory paper on math, and I think it's math has actually never been a strong suit for me. And though I did prepare for it, but I think sometimes when you're not good at math, I think it becomes a battle of nerves then, because just need to have that confidence that I know this and I will get to the bottom of this. But I feel like for me, though I had prepared, it was just that the nerves got to me, because I couldn't make it then, and then I decided to drop this altogether and decided to further my academic journey, and I decided to continue. And during the course of my preparation for civil services, I read a lot again. But this of course was not from a leisurely perspective, or from not from just gaining knowledge, but this obviously followed a strict regimen. And sometimes this is the requirement of civil services, that you reread the major texts multiple times for all the facts to be internalized within you. You read Indian polity, you read history, you read geography, you read environment, and you read international affairs, you read governance. And sometimes it can get to you, because you for preparing for this examination, where every fact is pertinent, and you need to remember these facts many times. So it of course is a long winding grind. And while I did it, I really what one thing that I really enjoyed was that how it equips you with a good understanding of events of national and international importance. So I think the way that you're very self-aware of whatever is happening in the world, in the country. So that's something, it really helps you to become a more responsible, a more aware citizen, and someone who has a deep understanding of India's past, of India's present, and who's appreciative of any certain changes brought out by the governments, or who's not ignorant of India's long institutional history since its independence. So I think that out of everything, one subject which really interested and intrigued me was international relations. And I thought that it was fitting, considering my background in history. And I even liked political science, and I especially enjoyed reading thoughts and ideas of philosophers, of Indian philosophers, of philosophers from other regions. So I decided to pursue my master's degree in international affairs, and I decided to study from OP Jindal Global University. And this was again very interesting, because um, previously at Stephens I had the experience of going to a public university, and this time I was at a private university. And obviously there was it was really good. And at Jindal, of course, the infrastructure is of course stellar, and there are lots of I mean there are like lots of staff members, and there are lots of facilities there. And again at Jindal, I also found that the academic environment there was quite flexible, and you can voice your opinions freely. And I mean, especially when it comes to international relations, most of it is about politics. And so I thought that that was also interesting, where we were given adequate freedom to exercise our thoughts, our opinions, and even indulge in debates. And Jindal also frequently calls on eminent scholars and dignitaries. And in fact, Jindal itself has a lot of former ambassadors who've taken on teaching positions there. And I'm very happy to tell that in my second semester at Jindal, I was actually the teaching assistant to former ambassador Sanjeev Arora, and for his course called Diaspora and Diplomacy. And he has been a guiding light in my academic journey, and his mentorship, and his way of explaining things, and his constant interventions have really helped me in my academic journey. And I'm very thankful particularly to him for the long association which I had with him over the last semester from February 24 to May 24. And it was a privilege to be his teaching assistant, and there's just so much to learn from his long experience of working for the government, his diplomatic years, and then later he was also secretary with the Ministry of External Affairs. I mean, since I was the teaching assistant, I sat through all his lectures, and his authority on West Asian issues is just incredible. And it was a delight to listen to say current events happening in West Asia in countries like Qatar and Lebanon from a former ambassador who's actually been India's envoy to these areas. And it was incredible to listen to his insights about geopolitics around energy and about events related to India's blue collar workers who often work in these regions, and how the interplay works out when the government wants to negotiate their safe passage back. It was just I mean, even my other professors, it was a delight to listen to all of them. They're all authorities in their fields, and I think that's why Jindal boasts of an excellent faculty where there are experts on. And one other thing which I would want to say is that the kind of diversity of subjects which I was offered was very good. Like in my master's degree, it almost feels that I am not studying international relations because I have the freedom to build my own curriculum. So
Mhm.
because of the diverse electives which we have, so I studied Spanish in my previous semester, and I did courses on risk analysis, and I did courses on international economics. And in the semester to come, I'm going to take a course on energy security, which will again be taken by Ambassador Aurora. And since extremely interested in contemporary Indian history, I'm also taking a course on that. So it's just that it's the kind of academic freedom and diversity which Jindal offers you is incredible, because and there are also cross electives. I mean, if I want, and if I'm interested in in a law discipline, I can take electives offered by the Jindal Global Law School. And that sort of opportunity is also given to students, where because sometimes what happens is that it's very important to also sort of look at other disciplines, because you cannot constrain yourself in one discipline, because everything is interlinked and everything helps you to come to an answer. So I think that is something which was incredible. And again, I really even enjoyed I am enjoying my time in Haryana. Now this is another place which I think I didn't I mean I haven't been to. So the local, and at least initially it was very exciting to go to Haryana. And now, of course, since I've been there for a year, so of course the excitement has dimmed a little bit initially, because you hear all sorts of stories about how the place is. But I found that the people there were actually nice and kind to people. It's just that you have to sort of respect the local cultures and traditions, and then after that you're good to go there. And so I mean, finished my 1 year at Jindal, and I'm starting my second year. And this summer also I interned with an eminent think tank called Center for Policy Research and Governance. And I just finished my internship. Yesterday was my last working day, and this was actually my first stint working with a think tank. And it also was a great learning experience for me. I learned how to work in a corporate setting. I learned how to better my communication when I'm talking to seniors. So it definitely was a great learning experience. And just how to conduct yourself in an official setting, so that these things are some are things which I learned. And currently I am also an I have an upcoming internship with the office of Dr. Shashi Tharoor, member of parliament. And I'll be beginning in July 2024, and this is something also I'm looking forward to, considering Dr. Tharoor's vast and varied experience as an international civil servant, then as a four-time MP from Trivandrum, Kerala, and he's published over 25 books. So I'm and I've grown up actually reading several of his books. So I'm incredibly looking forward and grateful for this opportunity to intern with him for the upcoming month. So yes.
Okay, well,
So I
that's quite a journey you've told us, and it's taken you far with one minor blip, which is that you
yes,
could crack UPSC. But
yes.
UPSC has its own ways of being successful, and perhaps you didn't have them. Anything else you want to add here?
Um, uh, I think that I would want to add here is that I'm really, I mean, first of all, I would want to express my gratitude for giving me this opportunity to, I do not remember the last time I spoke for so long without being sort of, for having this uninterrupted stream of thought. And I think that we do not really have these exercises where we just let ourselves to think. And it has given me, I think, a lot to even ponder over about how my journey has been so far, and how I can make it better. So I thank you for that, for giving me this opportunity. And I just hope that I'm able to contribute my bit to or to be a stakeholder as a young Indian in India's developmental story, considering India is a developing nation, and considering that India is at the cusp of a great demographic dividend, where most Indians right now are young Indians. So I think that it also equips us with a sense of responsibility, which we should feel towards our nation, and which we need to contribute in India's developmental story. So thank you so much for this.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you, Mahima. Let's end it here today. I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. Bye till then, everybody. Bye.